Hello students, as a exam oriented question from anatomy paper first, question number 2. As all of you know, you have to study according to the weightage or exam oriented. So today we are going to discuss one of the important structure from the brain, that is hypophysis cerebri or pituitary gland. As all of you must have learnt it from the physiology. So hypophysis cerebri or pituitary gland is also called as a hypophysis cerebri. So this gland, hypophysis cerebri, is situated, the pituitary gland is situated in the sphenoid bone, and that part of the sphenoid bone is called as the sella turcica. It is like a fossa. Sella turcica of the sphenoid bone, it is the another name of that location is called as the pituitary fossa of the sphenoid bone. As all of you know, you must have learned it from the physiology. The pituitary gland is a master of all the endocrine glands. So it is situated at the, you may say in other words, it is situated in the at the base of the brain. It is often called as the master of the endocrine orchestra because it produces a number of hormones that controls the other important pituitary glands, other important glands of the body. For example, thyroid gland, it also controls the parathyroid gland, it also controls the adrenal gland, it controls the gonad, it secretes the prolactin hormone for the secretion of the milk. So many of the functions of the pituitary gland is related with the, it controls remaining other endocrine glands. So that is why this gland is being called as a master of the endocrine glands. Rather than anatomy, the physiological view and disorders in the medicine, this gland is of utmost important gland. So the anatomy of the pituitary gland. So if you remove, if you do the dissection after removal of the brain, you will get in the sella turcica of the sphenoid bone, you will get a pouch-like structure. A gland is like a pouch, and it is situated in the sella turcica of the sphenoid bone, where you will get. So to see, you remove that gland and keep it in your hand and see by hand concave lens, you will get a zoom shape of that gland on your hand. It is very small. The pituitary gland is very small. The gland lies in the hypophyseal fossa of the sella turcica of the pituitary fossa. It is roofed by the diaphragma sella, the stalk of the pituitary gland, the actual body, and it has a stalk. The stalk of the hypophysis cerebri pierces the diaphragma celli and attached about to the floor of the third ventricle. It is superiorly it is attached to the floor of the third ventricle. The gland is in general, it is oval, not rounded, oval in shape, and measures about 8 millimeters anterior posteriorly and 12 millimeters transversely. 12 millimeters transversely and anterior posterior. It is oval in shape. Then it is about 500 grams in male, and it is the gland which is heavier in female, 600 milligram in female. This is the one of the important organ in the body which is heavier than the males, 0.5 grams in male and 0.6 grams in the female. Other organs which are larger than the males are the mammary glands. Otherwise all the structures of the males are always larger than the female, but these are some exceptional things which are larger comparating with the anatomical structures of the male. Now the relation of that pituitary gland, superiorly diaphragma celli, we have seen the optic chiasma, then the tuber cinerum, then the infundibulum races of the third ventricle above or to the roof. Then inferiorly, below that fossa is related with the irregular venous channels between the two layers of the dura mater lining the floor of the hypophyseal fossa. Then hypophyseal fossa itself and the sphenoidal air sinuses below. Then on each side of the gland, there are cavernous sinuses which contain and with its contents, cavernous sinuses of the brain which does a venous drainage of the brain, or cavernous sinuses that drains the venous drainage of the brain. Now the parts, that gland is being divided into parts. So first of all, as all of you know, the anterior lobe of the pituitary gland and posterior lobe of the pituitary gland in the physiology. So the subdivisions or parts, anatomical subdivisions of the pituitary gland is differ, morphological subdivisions of the pituitary gland is differ, functional subdivisions of the pituitary gland is differ, that is physiological divisions. Now the gland is having two main parts, adenohypophysis and neurohypophysis, which differ from each other embryologically, morphologically and functionally. Anterior is entirely differ, posterior is entirely differ in morphological, developmentally and functionally. Adenohypophysis is also develops from upward growth called as the Rathke's pouch from the ectodermal roof of the stomodium. That is called as the anterior lobe of the pituitary gland. Now the posterior lobe of the pituitary gland is neurohypophysis, develops as a downward growth from the floor of the diencephalon and is connected to the hypothalamus by neural pathway. Further divisions of each of the parts are as. Now the parts of the adenohypophysis, that is anterior lobe of the pituitary gland. So anterior lobe is divided into, is also called as a pars anterior or pars distalis or pars glandularis. This is the largest part of the adenohypophysis. Then intermediate lobe or a pars intermedia. This is the form of the thin strip which is separated from the anterior lobe by an intraglandular cleft, a remnant of the lumen of Rathke's pouch. Then the third part of the anterior lobe is the tuberal lobe, or also called as a pars tuberalis, is an upward extension of the anterior lobe that surrounds the forms of the infundibulum. Now the posterior lobe, the neurohypophysis. The posterior lobe is also called as a neural lobe or also called as a pars posterior. It is smaller than the anterior lobe and lies posterior convexity of a larger and posterior in the posterior concavity of the larger anterior lobe. The infundibular stem, which contains the neural connections of the posterior lobe with the hypothalamus. Now in between the anterior lobe and posterior lobe, there is a median eminence. That eminence means the forwarded protruded part of the tuberosinium, which is continuous with the infundibular stem above. Now the arterial supply. This is a short note. After parts of examination, location, weight, measurement, the arterial supply. The arterial supply is very easy to remember. On the basis of the name, the hypophysis cerebri is supplied by the following branches of the internal carotid artery. As all of you know, the circle of Willis, the branches of the circle at the base of the brain that supplies to the pituitary gland. So there are mainly two branches. One is the superior hypophyseal artery, very easy to remember, superior hypophyseal artery, and one inferior hypophyseal artery. On each side, the superior hypophyseal artery supplies the ventral part of the hypothalamus and upper part of the infundibulum, the lower part of the infundibulum through a separate long descending branch called as a trabecular artery. Each inferior hypophyseal artery divides into medial and lateral branches which join one another to form an arterial ring around the posterior lobe. Branches from the ring supply the posterior lobe and anastomos with the branches from the superior hypophyseal artery. Now, the anterior lobe of the pituitary, or also called as the pars distalis, is supplied by exclusively by the portal vessels arising from the capillary tufts formed by the superior hypophyseal arteries. The long portal vessel drain the median eminence and the upper infundibulum. Just we have seen the parts of posterior lobe, and the short portal vessel drain the lower infundibulum. The portal vessels are of a great functional importance because they carry hormone releasing factors from the hypothalamus to the anterior lobe, where they control the secretory cycles of the different glandular cells. So that pituitary gland is also a master of the endocrine orchestra. सब इट इज अंडर कंट्रोल. वो ऐसा करने का, पिट्यूटरी ग्लैंड ऐसा करती है तो बाकी सब लोग उसके जैसा दे बिहेव अकॉर्डिंग टू द ऑर्डर्स ऑफ द पिट्यूटरी ग्लैंड. सो that gland controls all the remaining endocrine glands. Now the venous drainage. The short veins emerge on the surface of the gland and drain the neighboring dural venous sinuses. The hormone pass out the gland through the venous blood and they carried out to the target cells. That is all about introduction, the parts of examination, weight, measurement, arterial supply. Arterial supply is very easy to remember. That is hypophyseal artery, superior and inferior. And the parts of examination. You may add one more note of the functional divisions of the pituitary gland in addition to the anatomical divisions. Functionally, you may anterior lobe and posterior lobe. Anterior lobe and posterior, and anatomical divisions are little bit differ than the physiological divisions. Now the histology. The histology of the pituitary gland, basically the chromophilic cells. We have seen in the histology the chromophilic cells. They are very rich cells and very rare cells in our body. They also find in the middle of the adrenal gland. They are rare. So that chromophilic cells are divided into two types basically. They are acidophil cells and basophil cells. This acidophil cells is about 43%, and they secrete somatotrophin, that is growth hormone, that is STH, or you may say growth hormone. Then they also secrete the mammotrophic, that is prolactin, for the to stimulate the mammary gland for the secretion of the milk, and that secrete the lactogenic hormone. Then the basophilic cells, or they are called as beta cells. They are only 7% of the total population of the cells of the pituitary gland. They control the thyrotropic to the thyroid gland stimulation. They control the thyroid gland. Secondly, corticotropic hormone, they control the adrenal gland, both the cortex and medulla. Then the gonadotropin, they control the gonad. In males, they control the testicular secretions, and in females, they control the menstruation as well as ovarian hormone. Then luteotropic hormone, that is luteinizing hormone, that is the same to the functional cells of the testis and ovary. Now the chromophobic cells, they are only totally 50% of the total population of the pituitary gland cells, and they represent non-secretory phase of other cell types. They are percussors. Now the intermediate lobe. We are describing the anatomical divisions of the pituitary gland. Intermediate lobe, it is made of the numerous basophil cells and chromophobe cells surrounding the masses of the colloid material. It secretes the melanocyte stimulating hormone, that is the color melanocytes that cover the skin. So melanocyte secreting hormone, and absence of this, there are a number of clinical conditions related to the, if deficiency is there may be that is loss of melanin from the skin. Then the posterior lobe, as all of you know, there are two main important functions. It is the cells are composed of a large number of non-myelinated fibers of the hypothalamo-hypophyseal tract and modified neurological cells called as the pituocytes. The pituocytes, they are responsible for the control of the soft organs, especially the uterus. As all of you know, pitocin, the word pitocin, you know, that is one of the hormone given at the time of the delivery. Then the hypothalamo-hypophyseal portal system. There is a special system that controls although pituitary gland is a master of all the endocrine glands, it controls remaining all endocrine glands. It is also controlled by something that is hypophysis. That is called as hypothalamus. Hypothalamus and hypophysis cerebri, or it is like a portal system, like a same system like that of a portal circulation. So hypothalamo-hypophyseal tract begins in the cryptic or paraventricular nuclei of the hypothalamus. In short, its short fibers terminate in relation with the capillary tufts of the portal vessel, providing the possibility for a neural control of the secretory activity of the anterior lobe. The long fibers of the neurosecretory tract pass to the posterior lobe and terminate near the vascular sinusoids. So these two tracts, anterior, one short is for the anterior lobe and long is for the posterior lobe. These hormones are actually secreted by the hypothalamus, from where these are transported through the hypothalamo-hypophyseal tract to the posterior lobe of the gland. Now the clinical anatomy, rather than anatomy, you know better from the physiology the clinical anatomy of the pituitary gland. The main important clinical anatomy of the pituitary gland, you must have heard the words pituitary dwarfism. Pituitary dwarfism you may compare with the cretinism of the thyroid gland. Cretin, a deficiency of the thyroid in children is called as a cretinism. But the child of the cretin child is always clever. But dwarf child is normal in the intellectual functioning, but if the child is cretin, there is a late learning. So that it affects only the physical growth. Normally the intellectual growth of the pituitary dwarf is normal, and in cretin both the physical and mental growth is lower. So general symptoms: sella turcica enlarged in size. So general symptom due to the pressure over the surrounding in the pituitary fossa is pressure. Pressure over the central part, that is chiasma, causes the bitemporal hemenopia. The pressure over the hypothalamus may cause one of the hypothalamic syndrome like obesity. Then large tumor that press the third ventricle, causing the rise of the intracranial pressure. Now the specific symptom due to the deficiency of hormone acidophil or eosinophil adenoma causes acromegaly in adult and gigantism in younger patients. Acromegaly and gigantism. You know better gigantism, gigantism and the bones are patient is 7 feet, sometimes 7 feet heighted. Then the basophil cells causes Cushing syndrome. Then the chromophobe adenoma causes effect on the hypopituitarism. Then the posterior lobe damage causes diabetes insipidus, in which there is a frequent desire to drink the water and immediately there is a urination. It is only due to the loss of control on the nephrons. The patient has a severe thirst to drink the water, and immediately the water is exceeded. That is called as a diabetes insipidus. And the lesion over it is although there is a lesions on the hypothalamus. These are some important points. Then the melanocyte, if the melanin hormone is less, there may be loss of the color of the over the skin. There may be leukoderma, or that clinical conditions may be there. So melanocyte secretory hormone. Then if pitocin, that is oxytocin is less, the contraction of the soft organ may be diminishes in the peristaltic movement of the alimentary tract also. That is all about the clinical anatomy and the clinical anatomy of the pituitary gland. I again revise the clinical anatomy. See, this is basically a short note question, 5 marks question. So you just note down the points: pituitary dwarfism, acromegaly, gigantism, then the diabetes insipidus. The meaning of the diabetes, you know better: frequent urination. And in mellitus there is a sugar in the urine. So that is diabetes mellitus. We can differentiate diabetes insipidus. For your kind information, in the diabetes insipidus, sometimes patient drinks 25 liters of the water and may urinate 25 liters of the urine he may pass in 24 hours. So in severe condition, severe deficiency of the vasopressin. Now the some of the important gigantism, acromegaly, hypothyroidism, it is due to deficiency. It controls the thyroid gland. So deficiency of that thyroid stimulating hormone may lead to the hypothyroidism caused by the deficiency of the thyroid stimulating hormone. Then the hyperpituitarism, that is increased hypersecretion of the gland. It causes the hyperpituitarism. Then the hypopituitarism, it is secretion of the one or more hormones normally produced by the pituitary gland. Then the parathyroid gland deficiency. If there is a deficiency in the hormone that stimulates to the parathyroid gland, that produces a secretion of the decreased secretion of the parathyroid hormones, then there may be growth in the pituitary gland. Growth, although in the third ventricle or even in the fossa also, that compresses either the anterior lobe or to the posterior lobe. It depends on the location of that tumor. If it is above, it will compress the stalk or to the upper third ventricle or to the hypothalamus, and hypothalamus will not release the hormone from to the anterior lobe, short tract, and a long tract to the posterior lobe. Then the pituitary adenomas. These are the non-cancerous tumors that occurs in the pituitary gland. All of these functions of the pituitary gland are adversely affect over the underproduction of the associated hormone of the other glands. The hypothalamic pituitary axis, the hypothalamus gives impulse to it stimulates to the pituitary gland. Pituitary gland secrete and stimulate to the other gland. It is the axis. It has been demonstrated that after controlling the age, sex and BMI, that is body mass index, larger quantities of DHEA, dihydroepiandrosterone, and DHEAS tended to be linked larger pituitary volume. Additionally, the correlation between the pituitary gland volume and social anxiety subscale scores was identified, which provided by the basis of the exploring mediation. Again, controlling for age, sex and BMI, DHEA, DHEAS have been found to be predictive of larger pituitary gland volume, which was also associated with increased ratings of the social anxiety. Social anxiety. The research provided evidence that pituitary gland volume mediates the link between the higher DHEAS level associated with the relatively early that is adrenarche and traits associated with the social anxiety. Children who experience early that is adrenachial development tend to have larger pituitary gland volume compared to the children with later adrenachial development. The the history of this history of the pituitary gland is basically a physician. The name is given by a Greek physician, the Galen, referred to the pituitary gland by using the ancient Greek name. So it is described the pituitary gland as a part of the series of the secretory organs for the excretion of the nasal mucosa. Anatomist address Vesalius translated and give the word as a glans, and cum pituita, the gland in which slime, pituita or a drips. Beside the descriptive name, Vesalius used the glandula pituitaria, from which the English name pituitary gland is become renowned. So this is the history of the name of the pituitary gland. Expression, so various histories, that anatomist Samuel, he has given a name hypophysis. Hypophysis cerebri. So in other animals, this gland is not that much developed comparing with that four-legged animals in other mammals, in tetrapods. So you just have to, for your just extra information, you may refer the books for the development of the pituitary gland in other lower animals comparing with the human beings.